Cumberland Stories is brought to you by the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. Come to historic Cherokee, North Carolina. Our story lives on. And by the Angler's Edge from Speed Tech, for information you can use.
Over the years, I've made some incredible friends and discovered some fascinating places in my job in the outdoors. I'm Angie Thompson, and one of my new discoveries is a place I value as much as any other spot in the world. It's Cherokee, North Carolina, and the Indians who live there. The people of this tribe care about family above all other things, and in valuing their families, they are using their natural resources to create opportunities for them in the outdoors. My friend Marty Forkiller lives in Cherokee and is always up for a fishing trip.
Marty, last year they stocked 382,000 fish on the reservation here.
Yeah, and some of those are trophy fish.
Yep.
You know?
I think this one I've got on here is a trophy fish.
Yeah.
I got one of the trophies. Actually,
look at there,
really
double.
Nice one.
I mean, I never would have thought
Look at the pretty
I
little
would
guy.
love fly fishing, but golly, I like it.
Well, I'm glad because I kind of feel like I'm sort of responsible for
You are very
introducing you.
responsible. I tell you.
And the rivers are hard to cross here. There's either deep gorges or they're wide and they're swift, and there's not really any place that's conducive to travel. You know, the bridges are like massive undertakings to actually get into this area. So in one respect, the rivers really protected us.
So the Cherokees had their own bottled water. It probably comes right out of this same water, doesn't it, Marty?
Yeah, it does, out of the Oconee. Yes, it does.
Lynn Harlan is a tribal historian for the Cherokee Indians.
At the time of removal, the U.S. Army drew maps of the Cherokee Nation. They drew the different homes, the different roadways, and where the Nantahala River has a deep gorge, there was a line drawn, kind of a jagged line that said Wild Indian Territory. So the Eastern Band was on the opposite side of that line. The Nantahala River really provided that layer of protection that kept the Eastern Band from being removed because the Army just knew how rugged it was going to be to try to get into this territory. So the rivers really protected us from removal.
This is like a little secret place up here.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? It's gorgeous. There's great fishing.
There are so many secret places here. I guarantee you, anybody that comes here, you know, will find their own secret place.
The Cherokee Indians are different from a lot of stereotypes of tribes because we didn't live in teepees, we lived in log homes, and we don't have dances like the rain dance because we're in a temperate rainforest, we have plenty of water, so water was never an issue for us. So a lot of people want to see a Cherokee do a rain dance, but we don't have one.
These are actually, you know, my people, I mean, that live here. And just being back here and associating with them, I mean, we just, I mean, I have as much fun. I hope they have as much fun with me as I think they do because I get teased quite a bit.
So in August, you guys are going to have a kids fishing derby here on the reservation, right?
Right, down at, well, it's down near the town of Cherokee. Matter of fact, on the same river, the Oconee.
Which is what we're on right here?
That's what we're on right here. It's called the Talking Trees Kids Fishing Derby, Trout Fishing Derby. And then somebody says, we really do have talking trees. Actually, where we're holding the Trout Derby, which is downtown Cherokee, on the Island Park or whatever, you go there and there are talking trees. You actually push a button and they talk to you. The tree talks to you.
Hello, my name is Yellow Poplar. Well, that's just one of my names. I am called Tulip Poplar, Tulip Tree, and White Poplar. As you can see, I'm a pretty big tree. As a matter of fact, I'm the tallest of all the eastern hardwood trees.
It tells you what species it is and that
all
sort of thing.
species and everything. So, you know, I mean, that's a landmark. So,
Yeah.
and we hope that we have to expand that area or fishing area just because kids want to come fish there every year.
Yeah,
So,
well, if that part of the Oconee fishes like this part of the Oconee, then I'm sure you'll have to expand it because, I mean, seriously, you could bring a kid down here and they could catch fish left and right.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I've had been fortunate enough, I've had good friends that know the area and can take me to all these neat places on the rivers. Coming back here, it's like you turn a corner and the mountains all of a sudden get taller, you know? And I don't know, I'm just thankful I can call it home now.
When Cumberland Stories returns, we'll take a closer look at how the Cherokee Indians are taking their responsibility to their families and especially their children very seriously and in a big way. Many outdoors people talk about getting kids involved in fishing and hunting. Today, Cumberland Stories is in Cherokee, North Carolina, where the Indians here are using their trout water that they manage and take care of to introduce children from all over the region and even all over the country to the fun side of fishing. The leaders of the tribal community are down here with their sleeves rolled up. Robert Jumper works in marketing for the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians.
Well, we have here a family of people in Cherokee called the Cherokee Indians. We have a very strong sense of family throughout our history. We apply that to everything we do. And when we have an event, we look for opportunities to bring families together, to bring children in with their parents, and to have activities where they can participate with each other.
Ray Kinsland is a gentleman who has worked with children in Cherokee and the surrounding region for years and years.
From the beginning of recorded history, the number one priority of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians is the education of our young people. And the tribe has sacrificed greatly over the years to keep our school going, to keep our Head Start programs going, anything to do with young people, and educating young people, keeping them busy. And of course, at the same time we're getting them a good education, we're encouraging them to be proud of who they are, their history, their culture, their language. They can have their cake and eat it too. They can have the best of both worlds. And one of the cultural traditions of the Cherokee, in addition to educating the young people, is spending a lot of time with them. If the parents can't do it, the grandparents or even the great-grandparents, one-on-one. And also another cultural tradition of the Cherokee is a lot of outdoor activities, hunting and fishing. Of course, hunting's almost history here, but fishing is growing each year. So we can keep our culture going, spend time with the young people, educate the young people, give them some healthy, wholesome recreation, and be outside in this beautiful creation that God has given us.
The chief of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians is Leon Jones, and he knows how important it is for the children of the tribe to connect with the outdoors.
There's so many temptations for youngsters in this world, drugs, alcohol, and other things. And if you teach a child to fish, get him out in the sunshine, in the woods, along the river banks, and teach him to fish, just maybe some child will benefit from this, or maybe many children. And we live in a time when our children have so many temptations. And this is just one thing to maybe make things better for them. That's just one reason.
Indian people, Cherokee people, for one, we worship the things around us, the living things around us, the ground we walk on, the trees, and especially the water. The water is a purification process. We pray about the water. The inhabitants of the water, whether it's a crayfish, crawdad, as I would call it, all species of fish, as long as we treat it right, it will treat us right.
The Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians have their own fish and game management program. They're one of the only tribes in the country to have this. And its manager is a big, amiable Indian named Dave Inslee.
And we wanted to do something for kids, for children, especially for children. Something that they didn't have to pay for, something that was free for them, and something to teach them to get outdoors. We believe that you ought to take your children outdoors and take them fishing and get them out away from the TVs and VCRs and stuff and let them enjoy the stuff in the outdoors. We think that's a more wholesome atmosphere for kids.
Let's see, they had 2 pounds, 6.5 ounces. That's tough fishing out there, y'all. I mean, even if we put in 10,000 fish, it depends on the fish want to eat. Fishermen run into that all the time. Okay, 2 pounds, 6.5 ounces. Kendra Kirkland, number 77. Kendra, around the steps, please. Here she comes. That's like Look at, hey, you notice how these kids run for the trophies? It took us a log chain and 2 mules to get them up here for the DVD players.
The Trout Derby at Cherokee, North Carolina is growing bigger and bigger every year. When Cumberland Stories returns, we'll give you a taste of the Derby, complete with barbecue sauce.
A little extra slab of ribs to snack on. Look at that.
Put kids and fishing together, and you're bound to find a good story. Now, put kids and fishing together on the Cherokee Indian Reservation in North Carolina, and you've got a great story. The second annual Trout Derby in Cherokee, North Carolina was such a success, you have to believe it's having a positive and lasting effect on the kids who came here. Now, the Derby is not all about fishing. The Cherokee Indians love their kids and their river, and they love their trout, but they love their barbecue too. So a cook-off is in order, and the way a barbecue cook-off is judged is a story in itself.
When we come up to a site, first thing we ask is the pig done? You want to make sure that you've got the pig fully cooked so that there's no danger of anybody getting ill. The primary purpose of the pig picking is for everybody to have fun and eat some pig, so that's the first thing. And then if he's ready, we judge based on the degree of doneness, the brownness, the crispness of the skin, the moisture content, the flavor of the meat, the flavor of the sauce and the combination thereof, and the grating. And then also the overall appearance and the preparedness. That takes into account any extra efforts they've made to, in the design of their equipment, the layout of their, tables, the sanitary handling, and the methods that they've got to handle the pig. Are you ready? Is your pig done?
Ready as I can get.
All righty. Let's see what we got here. See, it's nice uniform color all over. Caramel on the outside. Ham ends of the skin's done. A little bit soft in the middle. Got plenty of juice. Ham ends are done. Got a nice pink color. That's the carbon monoxide retention from the cooking. It would come off the bones a little easier. You have a good degree of doneness, moisture content. Pretty color. If you got a sauce you want us to try with this?
Yes, sir.
Meat has an excellent moisture contents, tender. And we'll sample a little with the sauce. Did you try with the sauce, John?
I'm going to do that.
A nice piquant flavor. Not too hot, not too sweet. That's good.
And that's very good.
How many years?
When we come back, we'll hear about the old Cherokee tale of a mysterious river creature. You may have seen this creature yourself. Cumberland Stories will return.
Cumberland Stories have been made possible by the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. Come to historic Cherokee, North Carolina. Our story lives on. And by Oh Boy Alberto Beef Jerky, the great tasting portable protein snack.
Through the years, I mean, the mystique about the supernatural and all that stuff, I mean, monsters, I mean, we've always been intrigued by it, you know. And but that is a legend here. The Uktena water serpent, Loch Ness type of monster, I guess. He lives about 100 yards from here.
Today on Cumberland Stories, we've been talking about the great story of how the Cherokee Indians are getting kids involved in fishing. Well, the Cherokees are full of great stories, and their history and their culture is steeped in storytelling. Some of these stories revolve around the river itself.
Well, in Cherokee beliefs, the river and water all have power to them. So traditionally, Cherokees would awake in the morning and go to the river and wash. And that was meant to bring power to you or healing to you or whatever you needed you were supposed to get from the river. So all their stories that come from water or are surrounded by water are all about powerful things. Things that grow along the river, the mushrooms, the wild greens, the fish, they all provide sustenance for us. And you won't find any Cherokee villages or homes or archaeological sites that are not near a water source.
Isn't there a story? Aren't we close to a place where there's a Indian story about this water?
You know, I know they called it the Uktena, like
Uktena.
it was a serpent. Through the years, I mean, the mystique about the supernatural and all that stuff, I mean, monsters.
Right.
I mean, we've always been intrigued by it,
Right.
you know. And but that is a legend here.
And the Uktena is supposedly a water serpent, right?
Yes, water serpent.
That's supposed to
I
live
think
here.
Loch Ness type of, if you will, you know, Loch Ness type of monster, I guess. And this, where he lives, he or she.
He or she, I like it.
Correct. Look at you. You're right in my way.
Now we're in trouble. Okay. Ooh.
And lives about 100 yards from here.
I think I've got the serpent on the
That's
end
where
of my
that's where the Uktena lives.
And Uktena means, I guess, is a Cherokee word for.
Yeah, for I guess that particular serpent.
There's a story of the Uktena as a serpent that the Cherokees believed lived in lots of different, there was like a whole group of them. The last time there was a huge flood here, the Uktena was killed during the flood and washed up on the bank, and so Cherokees believe this is the last place one was seen alive.
The Uktena fish here.
He's probably a lucky fish because he's escaped the Uktena.
That's
He's never
true.
been eaten by him.
Well, wouldn't you think the Uktena is probably a friend to the fish?
Maybe, yeah, probably so.
Probably only eats trout fishermen and tourists.
Wow, that's a nice one.
Wouldn't you imagine?
It was like a big snake, a big ugly snake. A really huge giant snake, not just like a python or something, but a real kind of a human size.
I'm going to let you go, buddy. Go back down there and swim with the Uktena. There
I
we
imagine there's some big ones where that Uktena lives.
go. Come here.
That's one of our oldest stories about animals that actually are associated with the water.
I can't get that one to stay with it. He must be a whopper. Uktena fish.
Uktena. There's also some stories about bears on this river, aren't there?
Well, there's bears all around this area, you know. I mean,
Boy, it is bear country, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
There's a place in the mountains called the Sacred Lake where the bears are said to go and wash and heal. And around that lake you can see where they wallow around the edge, all the grass is mashed down. The bear is important because Cherokees believe that it looks like it's human. So they see it as another human spirit form of the bear. And so the bear stories are throughout Cherokee culture. There's also a story about where waterfalls are as a passageway to another world where little people live. So all of our stories around and about the water have some connection to spiritualism. Cherokee villages were situated along the valleys along rivers. So all of our roadways, pathways were along rivers. And so they named different spots along the river by their characteristics. And there's a spot not too far from here where the forks of the river, Wrights Creek and Soco, come together. And they say it's where the Spaniards were. So I was talking to an older man once and said, what really does that word mean in Cherokee? And he says, well, what it really means is where the Spaniards' heads are in the water. And so there's this story about when the first Spaniards were coming, that would have been the 1500s, the Cherokees killed them and threw their heads in the river there as a warning to any other Spaniards coming into this region. At that point in history, there was this wild Indian myth, and they were afraid of Indians. They were afraid there was going to be some uprising. So when you came into this part, the Oconaluftee, there were small villages that were already here, and they welcomed those people coming in. But no one else came into this area. It wasn't until the early 20th century that we ever saw anyone actually come into this area because of its remoteness.
Cherokee, North Carolina may still be remote, but it's the most welcoming place you'd ever want to visit. The Indians here welcome visitors with open arms, and your kids will have a great chance to experience success at fishing and travel home with their own stories. And isn't that what we all want?
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.